There was a survey that I sent out asking people about hypnosis and depression, what their question was.
Yeah.
Questions were, you know, it came up several times. Several people were saying, you know, several people were saying, what if someone's on antidepressants? What if they're on drugs? What do you do? What's the protocol?
My attitude to drugs is that they're irrelevant. And so if someone says, I'm on drugs, what do I do? Depending on their attachment to the drugs, some people say, I just want to stop them. And as far as I'm concerned, that's fine. But if someone is wary about stopping them, I like to say, why don't you just keep taking them? And as we're working, and you're finding that you're more able to be the way you want to be, and you discover you don't need them, then you can just tail them off if you don't need them. Just in a very practical way, Ryan. I don't think there's anything special about it.
Okay. So you're not worried if they're on Prozac or something that hypnosis will be less effective, or?
I'm not.
No. Okay. And have you had any problems with, like, say, someone who is stopping their drugs therapy and relapsing, or?
No.
Okay. Wow. All right.
But I don't want to just dismiss that, because relapses are sometimes in the air. And some people who have prescribed antidepressants will actually emphasize you must keep taking them, otherwise you'll get a relapse. So if someone has done the woo woo woo,
someone's given them a hypnotic suggestion.
Yeah, if someone's pointed the bone, if someone has given them that curse, then I think that we need to respect that and say, there's no need for you to stop them suddenly. You can keep taking them for as long as you need, and then after a while, when you discover you don't need them, then you can tail them off. And you can do that after a day or a week or 10 years. So in other words, give them permission to do what is going to support them.
Very nice. Another question that came up 3 or 4 or 5 times was people wanted to know if there are contraindications. That is, are there times when you do not use hypnosis for depression?
Yes.
And what might those be?
Death.
Okay, so you're not worried about if someone presents they're psychotic.
No.
Okay, because actually your wife does a lot of work with psychotic people using Ericksonian hypnosis, doesn't she? She's a medical doctor, huh?
And, if we can think of psychosis as an experience very closely related to trance, where some other external, excuse me, start again.
Thanks for doing this with your recovering voice.
I have a swig here. You can get rid of this.
Okay.
So psychosis is not a contraindication to hypnosis. On the contrary, we can think of someone who comes in with the label of psychosis as already being in a trance, and our job is to help them to come out of their focused, absorbed experience that's internalized and rejoin what is called a consensual reality. In other words, to join our communal, our social fantasy of what reality really is.
I'm still working on that myself.
yeah, and I'm determined to not get a cure. Sanity is a matter of the numbers, Ryan. You talked about flat Earth before. When the Earth was flat, anyone who said that it wasn't flat was psychotic. So we get hypnotized by societal prejudices, and they're transparent. So,
Mhm.
and also, if someone is suicidal, do you use hypnosis?
Yeah, that was another question that came up 4 or 5 times. Yeah.
Yeah, because one of the things that working with suicide is that people have called it a permanent solution to a temporary problem.
Mm-hmm.
So if we ask a question about, for example, someone is having a problem with suicide, they haven't killed themselves. So there's something about living that they are still attached to. And if we can then get their attention to focus and get absorbed on why would they want to continue living?
Mm-hmm.
What would the benefit of that be? Get some focus and absorption in that. Then that can shift their internal focus and absorption from
Mm.
the reason to kill themselves to a reason to stay alive.
Interesting. That gets back to your reconnecting and disconnecting, or association and disassociation, that I've heard you talk about before.
When
So
someone is suicidal, when
uh-huh.
someone's suicidal, they are disconnected from any hope, any possibility, any chance, option of a resolution to their situation. So they're disconnected from that. And if we can help them to reconnect with some possibility, with some future, with some, for example, when you're a grandparent and you look back to that time when you felt suicidal, into that experience and let me know what it was that helped you. And what are you glad that you stayed alive
Mm-hmm.
now that you've got grandchildren? I'm just making that up as a scenario.
Yeah, no, that's wonderful. So yeah, you're helping them have an imagined future, looking back on the past and what made that difference.
It can be life-saving, literally life-saving. Yeah.
And I think I may already know the answer to this from your point of reference, but two people talked about cause. Like, do I have to get to the cause of the depression, or does that matter? Someone said the word root cause. So I don't imagine you believe in root causes, but what would be, what would you say to that person, or what would you say to someone that comes in and says, oh, my mother dropped me on my head a lot, and that's what caused my depression. I mean, do you think in terms of causes?
I don't, but I think that it's very important that we listen to a client. And if they say, I need to know the cause, then we need to respect their need and help them to find the cause as a way of starting to reinterpret that, learn from that, alter that, change that, and so on. So that if someone says, I'm suicidal because my mother dropped me on my head, okay, let's go back to that time when you were dropped on your head and you started to feel like this. As an adult, you can go back. What can you do to help this child? As a grandparent in the future, when you've got over this, what can you do to help the person learn from this? So that's what initiated it. But what initiates something is not necessarily what perpetuates it.
Mm-hmm.
Someone can have a trauma and the trauma is finished. Trauma is over. But there's something about the experience which is living on, which is continuing. And it's not the trauma that's the problem. It's what is still happening with it. I think it was Emerson that said that experience isn't what happens to us. It's what we do with what happens to us.
Who did you say said that?
I think it was Emerson.
Emerson, the poet.
I don't know who he is. I just know the name. I'm just name dropping here, Ryan, hoping to give
That's fine. That works.
credibility to myself here.
Well, great. Those are actually the three main questions. What if someone's on antidepressants? And to you, it doesn't matter, and you work with their beliefs about the antidepressants, and you just keep it there.
But hang on, I'm not saying it doesn't matter. I think it's important
Yes, sorry.
that we realize if it matters to the client, not to
Right.
us. We need to respect the client's attitude. But the antidepressants, from my perspective, the antidepressants themselves are not the issue. It's the client's attitude, their personal attitude, an attitude that they have absorbed from someone who's an expert with authority, who's prescribed it. All of that stuff.
Uh-huh.
We need
So
to
yeah, enter the client's world on that.
we need to respect
And,
that. Yes.
and do you ever not use hypnosis for depression? The answer is for you, no. Or you don't feel those contraindications?
Like I said, if someone is still breathing, hypnosis. If they've stopped breathing, I don't know. That's a bit beyond my my skill basis. Maybe, I can come to one of your Feldenkrais programs and learn how to work with dead people, but it doesn't work for me yet.
Yeah. Well, actually, there's a really interesting parallel when doing body work. Someone comes and said, "Oh, I had a car wreck, and now I'm in this pain. I'm moving around. I don't need to go back to the car wreck and say, what was it like? They're in front of me. There's a system. How do I affect them now? Change their movement, give them, some breathing and relaxation." So, okay. Well, listen, I'll let you go because I know you're. I don't want to be the guy that makes you lose your voice, and you're in the middle of a workshop. What are you doing at hypnosis workshop right now, or what are you doing?
It's a supervision day.
Live supervision.
Yeah, a group of people here. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks for doing that, and then you'll be doing the first couple of coaching and integration calls in the conference, and it'll be for people listening. It'll be kind of like this.
Yep.
Me and you, and people will be able to ask questions, I believe, and
Yep.
get case study feedback. And
Yep.
you've got, your presentation for the Hypnosis and Depression Conference is practically a mini training course in itself with those 5 little videos you did. So
I hope so.
I think people will enjoy that.
I hope so. I'm interested to help to generate an experience that's going to be useful rather than kind of promulgating some kind of protocol that is an expression of my great wisdom.
Yeah. So what was that quote by Erickson? For every client, I invent a new theory, what was it? I forget. A new something. I'll flash that on the screen. I read it down at some point, but
yeah, a new theory. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, have fun out there, and
Yes. Thanks, Ryan.
I'll see you soon.
Very good.